in our last video, we made a little reminder here that positive divided by positive would give you negative, and that when you switch the signs for what you're dividing, you get a different result, either positive or negative. So if there's one negative and one positive, then your result is negative. But then if you have two negatives when you divide, your result is positive. So in this example, we're going to be multiplying, and the multiplication is going to be by a fraction. So that's going to take a little bit of explaining, but we have to deal with the signs as well. So as far as the signs go, when we multiply positive times positive, this is multiplying two positive numbers, like 3 times 4. 3 times 4 would be 12. Positive times positive is positive. But then negative times positive, like -2 times 4 would be -8. When we have one negative in our multiplication, the result is a negative answer. If we start with a positive, but then we have one negative, again, our result is negative. So if this were like 2 times -4, that would be -8. Then finally, if there are two negatives in our multiplication, just like in our division, negative divided by negative, two negatives, positive. Here, negative multiplied by negative, positive. Okay, so we need to remember that. And now let's look at this. So what are we doing to x? So the number next to x is what we multiply by. So we are multiplying x by 3/4. 3/4 is 0.75. We are multiplying x by 3/4. Like I said, 3 divided by 4, 3/4 equals 0.75. So you know how much that number is. Okay, well, we have to keep our equation balanced when we isolate x. So then our inverse, now this is going to sound weird because usually you think the inverse of multiplication is division. That's true, but we're going to talk about it a little bit differently here, okay? The inverse of multiplication by a fraction is division, but we can also say it, and this is the way I want you to do it, multiply by the reciprocal. So it's going to be multiply for the inverse, multiply both sides, because we have to do it to both sides to keep the equation balanced, by the reciprocal. You flip the fraction over. Okay, we're going to multiply both sides. I didn't say this correctly, sorry. Flip the fraction over. 4 in the numerator, 4 goes up. 3 goes down, 4/3. Multiply both sides by 4/3. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have to multiply both sides by 4/3. So when we get over here to this integer, -6, that means it's not a fraction, integer. So to multiply that by 4/3, I need to think of my -6 as a fraction. To make this a fraction, I will think of that as -6/1. We'll come back to that in a minute. Right? Good. So remember, we took the 3/4 and we flipped it over. Now watch what happens when we multiply by the reciprocal. Okay. So we're doing this because we want to get x by itself. We're trying to get 1x. So we're trying to get 1x, right? So here's how we get 1x. 4 times 3 equals 12. That's the numerator. 3 times 4 equals 12. 12 divided by 12 equals 1. So when we get this number to be 12 over 12, that's 1. That's what we want. So that's the reason we multiply by the reciprocal of 3 over 4. That's the reason we take this number and flip it over. Because when we have the reciprocal, we're always going to get the same number in the numerator and the denominator. And when we get some kind of same over same, that always equals 1. So we're always going for like same over same when we multiply by reciprocals using inverse operations. Okay, cool. Now, remember that when we multiply a negative number by a positive number, our result is going to be negative. All right. So now let's show how to multiply fractions over here. You have -6 over 1 times 4 over 3. And let's get the calculator involved. Oh, let's use this calculator. Okay, so -6, 6, then -6. Divided by, nope, my fault. Let's try that again. -6 times 4. -6 times 4. -24. Because negative times positive, one negative in the multiplication gives you a negative answer. Okay, denominator, 1 times 3. You know 1 times 3 is 3. So now we have -24 over 3. We'll look to simplify that. So we got 24 and then negative. Divide by 3 equals -8. Negative divided by positive is negative in your answer. Let's remember that. Negative divided by positive, there's one negative in the division, is negative. Okay, that was a pretty long explanation, but you know, it was really good, I think, honestly. A little bit clunky, but I gave you I gave you all the information. So this is x equals -8. Now to check it, we have 3/4 multiplied by x. X is -8. If we're going to multiply fractions, then let's write this as a fraction. So that's -8 over 1. And we're asking, does 3/4, make sure you're using this fraction, does 3/4 times -8 equal -6? And again, we're going to need to multiply these fractions. So we'll have 3 times -8 in the numerator. Three times -8. -24 in the numerator. Then our denominator, 4 times 1. Both are positive times positive. You know that 4 times 1 will be 4. Positive 4. Then finally, we -24 divided by 4. Equals -6, because negative divided by a positive is negative. Sorry about that. -6. So -6 does equal -6, and you've checked it. Great job.